Fake HOA officers trespassed in uniform. They forgot I'm a U.S. Army veteran with cameras. The sun hung high over Maplewood Drive, casting sharp shadows on my manicured lawn. I'd spent years turning this patch of dirt into a sanctuary after 3 tours in Afghanistan. My name's Jack Riley, a retired U.S. Army sergeant with a knack for noticing details like the kind that save lives. Or, in this case, expose liars. My security cameras, installed after a string of neighborhood break-ins, were about to earn their keep. It started with a knock. Sharp, insistent, like someone used to being obeyed. I opened the door to 3 strangers in crisp HOA uniforms. 2 men, one wiry with a clipboard, the other bulky with a smug grin, and a woman with cold eyes and a badge that didn't sit right. They claimed to be from the Karen Heights Homeowners Association, here to inspect my property for violations. Problem was, I'd lived here 10 years and never heard of an HOA in our unincorporated town. "You're out of compliance," the wiry one, who called himself Greg, barked. "Your fence is 2 inches too high, and that flagpole's unapproved." He waved at Old Glory, snapping in the breeze. My blood simmered. That flag had flown over my base in Kandahar. It wasn't going anywhere. "Show me your credentials," I said, leaning against the doorframe. The woman, Linda, flashed a laminated ID too quickly. The badge's font was wrong Times New Roman, not the embossed serif our county uses. I'd seen better fakes in bazaars overseas. "You're trespassing," I told them. "Leave." Greg's face twisted. "We have authority. You'll pay fines if you don't comply." The big guy, Carl, stepped closer, his shadow falling over me. I didn't flinch. I'd faced worse than a wannabe tough guy in a polyester blazer. Linda's hand hovered near a radio that looked like a toy. That's when I knew. These weren't just pushy bureaucrats. They were imposters. I pointed to the cameras above my porch. "Smile. You're on candid camera." Their faces froze. Carl muttered something, but Greg snapped. "You can't record us without consent." I laughed. "Private property, pal. My rules." I stepped inside, locked the door, and pulled up the live feed on my phone. They were still on my lawn, arguing in hushed tones. Linda glanced at the cameras, her cool facade cracking. Then came the twist. My neighbor, Mrs. Clara, a quiet widow who baked cookies for the block, shuffled out with her phone. "Jack!" she called, voice trembling. I checked online. "There's no Karen Heights HOA. These folks have been scamming people for months." She held up a news article on her screen, detailing a trio posing as HOA officials to extort homeowners. Fines, fake liens, even threats to foreclose. My gut churned. They'd targeted the wrong veteran. I grabbed my old service pistol not to use, just to remind them I wasn't helpless, and stepped back out. "You've got 10 seconds to leave before I call the sheriff." Carl lunged, thinking he'd intimidate me. I sidestepped, years of training kicking in, and he stumbled into the flower bed. Greg and Linda backed off, but not before Greg hissed, "You'll regret this, vet." They piled into a van with a slapped-on HOA logo and peeled out. I called Sheriff Daniels, a buddy from my unit, and sent him the footage. Within hours, deputies caught them at a gas station, still in their fake uniforms. Turns out, they'd swindled thousands from elderly neighbors, banking on fear and compliance. The cameras nailed them. Faces clear, voices recorded, lies exposed. But the victory felt hollow. Clara told me later that her sister, living across town, had paid them $2,000 to avoid a lien. She was too ashamed to tell anyone until now. I thought of the flag on my pole, the freedom it stood for, and how these con artists had preyed on trust. I'd stopped them, but not before they'd hurt people I cared about. The sheriff said they'd face jail time, but no sentence could undo the betrayal. That night, I sat on my porch, staring at the stars. I'd fought wars for this country, but this bat-lead home, against liars in my own neighborhood, cut deeper. Clara brought me coffee, her hands still shaking. "You saved us, Jack," she said. I shook my head. We saved each other. But the weight of those they'd hurt lingered, a bitter aftertaste to justice. What would you do if you caught someone betraying your community's trust? Share your thoughts on justice and standing up to deceit.